So I've just found that I like certain foods and I don't get sick of eating them. And I've eaten them for like a couple of years and I just don't get sick. I like eating basically the same things.
Kari Pearce is a 5-time CrossFit Games athlete, and she's won the title of America's Fittest Woman in 2016, 2018, and 2019, which means at the time of this recording, she is America's Fittest Woman, the best female CrossFit athlete in the country. She is a phenomenally accomplished, hardworking, and decorated athlete. Man, it's the fittest woman in the country. It's ridiculous. She's a really, really elite level athlete. And today we're talking about how she fuels up. You've seen her abs. More importantly, you've seen her incredible feats of strength and fitness at many, many CrossFit athlete events, and also her Instagram as well, which you should follow. So how does she fuel up? Well, she's 5'2 and a half. She weighs about 139 pounds. And even though she's shorter than the fittest woman on earth, Tia Claire Toomey, she eats about 1,000 more calories per day than Tia Claire Toomey told us she eats. Tia Claire says she eats about 2,500 calories. Kari Pearce, though,
It's between 3,000 and 3,500. I more or less like go per meal because I follow RP Strength, and that's kind of how they outline everything is with each meal. So I know what each meal is, and most of the time it's like 15 grams of fat, 20 grams of protein, and between 45 and 60 grams of carbs, depending on if I just trained, if I'm doing a 2 a day, 1 a day, no training. So I usually have about 5 meals that are similar to that.
her total macro breakdown for the day, well, I mean, it depends on the day. Most days she works out twice a day. Sundays are a complete rest day. But on average, what we're looking at is,
I want to say around like 90 to 100 grams of fat, around 350 of carbs, and around 150 or so of protein.
a lot of athletes go really low in fat so they can cram in a lot of carbohydrates, but Kari makes sure she gets a decent amount of fat in her diet. In fact, it's 1/3 of her overall calories for the day. About 17% comes from protein, and more than half of her total calories come from carbohydrates. One thing I just want to quickly point out here is a lot of people think that athletes are on really high protein diets. It's like the first thing you think about when you think of an athlete's diet. And while Kari is eating more than a gram per pound of body weight, when you look at the total amount of her calories, it's actually far and away the smallest portion of her calories. So the next time you're discussing your diet with someone and they think a gram of protein per pound of body weight is a massive amount of protein, it's worth keeping in mind that it's actually probably your least prominent macronutrient in your macronutrient split, if you're eating like an athlete anyway. So anyway, that's it for Kari Pearce's calories and her macros, and her weight does not fluctuate throughout the year. There are some CrossFit athletes who try to like gain more weight and gain more bulk on the off season, maybe like cut down a bit in preparation for the game so they don't like sacrifice their gymnastics skill. Kari Pearce sits right between 138 and 140 pounds all year long. Anything else just feels wrong.
A couple of years ago, I tried adding mass because I was like, I'm weak compared to the other girls. So I figured gaining some weight would help with that. So I got up to I was at 138, I got up to 140. And I don't know, like for CrossFit, I have found that just like when I'm right in between like the 138 to 140 is when I'm the happiest, like just all around. I got up to 141, 140 was like playing with a little bit at 142. And just like my gymnastic stuff kind of suffered. I just didn't feel as light. I just felt so heavy doing everything. And yeah, my strength went up, but because CrossFit, like you have to be so well-rounded, I think that finding that happy weight of being strong, but also being good at the gymnastics and the endurance is the way to go about it.
This is a really critical point that distinguishes CrossFit from other strength sports, because you can't just be bulky and muscular and strong in CrossFit. You also have to be fast, you also have to be agile, you have to be able to do gymnastic stuff, you have to be able to do Olympic weightlifting movements, so you have to be very, very mobile. You can't just pack on a whole lot of muscle and get really good at the sport. It doesn't work like that. You need to maintain a balance between all these different modalities of your fitness. But anyway, Kari Pearce's diet, it's not as rigid as it might sound. Because she really mostly eats whole foods, she doesn't really beat herself up over it if she sometimes goes over or under her daily caloric allotment, because her instinct and her habit is to eat clean pretty much all the time. So sometimes she can splurge.
My eating is very consistent, and some days I'll feel hungrier, so I'll add a little bit more if I need, or if I'm like, I'm not feeling it, that I won't, but that's very rare. Usually it's more, I need more food, so I'll eat more, but I don't intentionally try to gain weight or lose weight at any point of the year. And I guess I don't really like think about foods that are off limits. It's more just like I eat what I do, and then when I want something, then I'll go eat it. Like I like sushi as well, so sometimes I'll eat that out. I used to eat a lot of sandwiches and stuff growing up, and then I don't know, like anymore, I just like basically just like throw everything in a bowl, and I have like 2 bowls, like my oatmeal bowl and then like my chicken and veggie bowl.
And that's basically the summary of what she eats: oatmeal, chicken, and veggies. I mean, there are other things she eats, of course, but these three are real cornerstones of her diet. She told me that she sometimes eats oatmeal 4 times a day, and sometimes she'll have it for dessert as well as a treat, because she just really, really likes oatmeal. And I mean, why wouldn't you? It's great, it's delicious. I actually once personally, I wrote an article about the breakfasts of Team USA Olympic weightlifters. I interviewed a bunch of them, and I had to just scrap the article because every single one of them said oatmeal. It's a very athlete-friendly meal. It's unusually high in protein for a grain, actually. Like a cup of cooked oatmeal has 6 grams, which might not sound like a lot, but for a grain, it's a decent amount. And it's actually a very high quality protein as well. Plenty of like leucine, the one that simulates muscle protein synthesis. I'm not saying that you should have oatmeal as your primary protein source, but it is like a very good source of protein for a grain, is what I'm saying. But it's also got a lot of other things going for it. It's got plenty of beta-glucans. That's an unusual type of carbohydrate with strong links to lower levels of cholesterol. It's also a really good source of iron and magnesium and zinc in that cup of oatmeal. You're gonna get at least 20% of the recommended daily intake of all 3 of these nutrients. And like iron's really important for energy production. Magnesium is really important for recovery, for sleep, for reducing stress levels. Zinc has some pretty interesting links to improved levels or optimal levels of testosterone in addition to immunity. All that stuff is very important for athletes. Oatmeal, it's very healthy.
For whatever reason, sometimes I'll have like a pepper and chicken stir fry with salsa, and then I want oatmeal on the side, which is like kind of weird, but I'm like, it's kind of like my dessert, so.
Okay, so oatmeal aside, here are her go-to protein sources.
So oatmeal is definitely one of my staples. For a while, I was eating it 4 times a day. A lot of people are like, wait, what? How did you eat it that much? But I just really enjoy it plain or just with cinnamon on it.
Okay, we know about the oatmeal.
And I'll mix in like some brown rice here and there. And I've started eating a lot more sweet potatoes.
So basically it's oatmeal, rice, and sweet potatoes for the carbohydrates, chicken and eggs for the protein. Like these are the main sources of these macronutrients. For like fibrous, nutritious, low-carb vegetables, she'll just go with basically anything she comes across. She's not very picky in that regard, which is a good idea because a diverse diet ensures a diverse range of nutrients after all. For fat sources, it's mostly nut butters. She's a big fan of almond butter, peanut butter, all this sort of stuff. Sometimes she'll put coconut oil in her oatmeal for some extra fat, some extra flavor. Occasionally, of course, she'll have avocado, some guacamole with her Mexican, which is one of her favorite cheat meals. When it comes to cheat meals, like cheese doesn't really agree with her, but nonetheless, she'll often go for Mexican or like a steak and potatoes or ice cream, you know, basically the usual. But she doesn't really fetishize cheat meals the way a lot of athletes do.
Kind of whenever I feel like it, like if I'm really craving something, then I'll go get it. Like, I mean, you know, not feel guilty about it because I'm so clean all of the other time. So it's like every once in a while you need to treat yourself. Basically,
when you're strict most of the time, like Kari is, you can be relaxed more often as well. Like there really is freedom through discipline when it comes to nutrition, especially if you're sticking to your calories and your macronutrients. You can find room for foods that aren't considered especially healthy by some people, and it's not a big deal, especially if you're getting plenty of micronutrients by eating plenty of whole foods, which is probably a big part of her success. Now, Kari Pearce, she works with Renaissance Periodization for her nutrition coaching. It's a very popular nutrition coaching company for a lot of athletes out there, including ones like Team USA Olympic weightlifter Maddie Rogers, and also CrossFit champ Rich Froning. If you've seen our video on Rich Froning's diet, you know that Renaissance Periodization divides carbohydrates into 3 forms. So you've got the liquid carbohydrates that you take during your workout. That might be something like juice or Kool-Aid, Gatorade, that kind of stuff. You're gonna have high glycemic index carbohydrates, high GI carbs surrounding the workout, like right before it or right after it. That's gonna be stuff like sugary cereal, Fig Newtons, raisins, that sort of thing. Then there's the fibrous carbohydrates that you might be more used to. Stuff like potatoes, whole grains, oatmeal, brown rice, beans, that sort of stuff. These are foods you have further away from the workout. The reason for this is that fiber helps keep your blood sugar steady throughout the day, but there are times during the day that you may want to actually spike your blood sugar for a hit of energy. Most people tell you to never do that. That's why you shouldn't drink Coca-Cola. And while that might be good advice for the average population who doesn't exercise, it might not be a bad idea to do during your workouts or right before your workouts. So you get a big spike in blood sugar, you can get more energy for your workouts. So a lot of athletes, and also the ones that work with Renaissance Periodization, are advised to have higher GI carbohydrates during the workout and also after the workout because it helps to replenish your lost glycogen stores. That's the stored energy in your body. Lastly, let's talk about supplements. So I was just telling you about the liquid carbohydrates that RP recommends you take during your workouts. Kari Pearce takes a liquid carbohydrate and whey protein supplement when she works out.
Anywhere from 45 to 60 grams of carbs, just sugars, and then 18 grams of whey protein. It's basically just dextrose. just simple sugars. I mean, I've done like Gatorade before, I've done Kool-Aid, I've done, just like some of the X Endurance sugar supplement, the Fuel 5, I think it's called. So I've done a little bit of everything, but mainly it's just some sort of simple dextrose sugar.
And her other supplements, while she takes a daily multivitamin, she also takes fish oil, which is meant to help you manage inflammation, according to some pretty interesting research. And then, perhaps most notably, she takes CBD, cannabidiol. That is a cannabinoid found in cannabis, kind of recently legal, but enormously popular among many big-name CrossFit athletes, including Tia Toomey, Matt Fraser, and Kari Pearce. And very importantly, all three of these athletes are sponsored by the CBD company Beam. So I can't act like they're all being completely impartial and talk about how much they love Beam. Nonetheless, with that in mind, Kari said that taking this CBD product, especially at nighttime, really does help her heart rate variability, which is a really interesting area of fitness. So Kari has a Whoop strap around her wrist. This is a type of tech that tracks your heart rate variability, among other things. So that means it measures the amount of time between your heart beats. And what that means is when you have more heart rate variability, if there's a more variation between the length of time between the beats, that means your nervous system is a bit more relaxed. So it's a really good measure, a very interesting measure that can tell you potentially how stressed the system is, how well you've slept, and so on. And she swears up and down that when she's taking the Beam product at nighttime, the one that has CBD and melatonin and magnesium, which are also linked to better quality sleep, she has better heart rate variability, which has really strong links to improved recovery, improved workout performance, and so on. Again, she's sponsored by it, but she's a big fan of CBD, so there it is.
I don't know if it just if there's something in it that just helps you sleep deeper, but I was taking the normal CBD oil, and I don't know if it's because it has extra melatonin or something that just helps you sleep deeper and recover better, but I was well, I'm back in the green, so.
And that's everything. That's everything I have to say about Kari Pearce's diet. Lots of oatmeal, lots of CBD, and lots of liquid carbohydrates to get her through those really tough workouts. So pretty actionable tips here. I really want to thank Kari for coming on the show today. You can follow her Instagram in the description below and on the screen. I'm going to put it right here. There it is. And make sure to subscribe here at BarBend as well, because we've got a lot more fitness and nutrition videos coming up.